Hi, and welcome to Uncommon Visionaries Go-to-Market Sessions, a new series where we explore the latest trends and challenges faced by go-to-market leaders and how they take them on. I'm Jake Randall, the COO of Common Room, and today I'm joined by Chris Arden, VP of Marketing at Ecosystems. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Jake. It's great to be here.
Maybe to start us off, why don't you just give us, a quick, background on yourself?
Yeah. So Chris Arden. I'm currently the Vice President of Marketing for Ecosystems. I've been in marketing for about 20 years. I've been fortunate enough to work for multiple startups, and I've worked for some household names like Adidas, Puma, Canyon Bicycles. But really want to talk a little bit today about what I'm doing at Ecosystems. So Ecosystems is a SaaS platform. We specialize in the enterprise space, and we work with a variety of tech firms across different industries. In many cases, our clients have more complex technical products, and in some cases, they might even have hundreds of products. And that's where we really come in terms of our platform is they usually have a challenge of quantifying and tracking the value that their services provide due to the complexity or due to the sheer volume of products that they have. And so for our platform, it was purpose built for collaboration between buyers and sellers. And what we see on the new logo side is things like higher win rates. And on the existing side, we see higher likelihood of renewal and expansion. And obviously, Jake, as you know, in today's economic environment, all vendors are being put under a microscope right now. So our services are super relevant to the current state of the industry.
Makes total sense. I mean, if you can walk in and say, here's the value that we're going to receive from purchasing this solution, I'm sure that makes the CFO conversation a bit easier.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, we've built a community that we're really proud of. It's called the Customer Value Community. It was started a little over a year ago, and originally the idea was to bring value professionals together to network and share thought leadership, have meetups. But we've actually seen an expansion into customer success, marketing, and value, of course, and then also sales. And so we're actually hosting an event today in the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. Really, really excited about this. Just the opportunity to bring together these leaders in their space and let them learn from each other. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's great. And I love it. It's, you're selling a solution to help people quantify value. And then, you're backing that up with what your company does, what your marketing team does with adding value to your community, right? That's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
So maybe just quickly, because you mentioned it out of the gate, how do you define community? I think it's a buzzword out there right now. Lots of people are thinking through it. What does community mean to you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jake. So for us, our intention with community is just to help grow individuals and the space as a whole. So our industry is value management. That's the space that we play in. And what we found is that years ago, it was very much a niche community, niche market, and people who were value management professionals weren't really able to find other professionals they could network with and talk shop and bounce ideas off of. And so the original intention was, look, we're just going to build a place where these value professionals can network, they can meet, they can workshop and kind of work through the various challenges that they have in their industry. And so for us, community is really about helping our industry move forward and grow.
I love that. So you've had this great run, across, as you mentioned, some of these, B2C brands, and now you're in, B2B marketing, and we can debate the differences and all that, but that's that's a different session. What are some of the most impactful, trends you're seeing in marketing, or what are some of those challenges that you're seeing today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think attribution is a big one right now. A lot of marketers are really struggling with attribution, and it's a bit counterintuitive, but attribution today is much harder than it was 5 years ago. Consumer privacy is taking a center stage with companies like Apple and Google, and the changes that they're making to their platforms and services around cookies are really making it harder for marketers to track the customer journey. And so as a result, a lot of marketers are just defaulting on what they've done before that they can track. Take a look at Google Ads, for example. And I'm not knocking Google. We run Google Ads and it's a great platform. But if it's the only platform where you can track conversions, then a lot of CMOs or heads of marketing are just going to pour more money into areas they can track. And what I see is things like community, things like podcasts or other events fall by the wayside, and they aren't a priority because they're harder to track. And it's actually forcing marketers to get more creative and to really go back to the roots of like, are you truly providing value to your clients and prospects in your marketing? Are you helping them, or are you really just trying to sell them something? And that's the core of what we're seeing.
It's this evolution of value-based selling, right, to a certain extent. And are you providing value? So you talked a bit just prior to this about that community has been a really important part of your strategy because of that two-way value. I'll call it conversation. So maybe talk a bit, or help me understand, I should say, attribution, community, and what you're doing there, and how that's played into this problem.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So for us, with community, one of the things that with Common Room, the platform that you guys provide to us, it gives us some insight and analytics into what's happening in our community, and what people care about and what they're interested in, and that allows us to provide a better community and to kind of stand up new features or host events that are meeting the needs of the community. And from an attribution standpoint, what I'm recommending that a lot of marketers look at is, ask your clients, how they heard about you. A lot of times you'll find out it's actually through a community that you didn't even know. People were having conversations about your product or service, and that's all something that wouldn't show up on a multi-touch attribution model, but it's real and it's where people are having conversations. And as a marketer, you have to be willing to kind of go outside the box a little bit and look at, asking questions. As we've talked about, our demo form we have, how did you hear about us? And we do interviews with new customers during their onboarding process because we're trying to get a better sense on attribution from our community and how that's driving, let's say opportunities or, progressing deals through the pipeline.
This kind of, I mean, like what I'm hearing when you say it is this, content marketing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't release blogs or do podcasts or do those things, but a lot of that content, to some extent, that people are looking for is coming from their peers, right? That's a little bit of it,
Yep.
right? Hey, I didn't hear about it because I Googled XYZ. I heard about it because I was talking to my peer, right? And that's the
Exactly.
community aspect of it. Great. So I guess kind of building off of that, as I think about it, how has that, how has some of what you've seen there with community and, this kind of more, I don't know, qualitative attribution aspects, how has that changed how you're thinking about, something like email marketing versus, community engagement and some of the tactics you might use?
So with email marketing, demand gen, it's a big struggle for a lot of companies today because there's a lot of noise in email, and there's a lot, us as professionals in our fields, we get hundreds of cold emails from different companies that are trying to sell us stuff, and to compete in that space is difficult. You have to really innovate, and you have to be personalized, and you really have to understand your clients. And there's a lot of work involved to really do that effectively. What we're finding with community, and it's been really exciting for us, is when we want to communicate with people in community, it's actually much easier to cut through the noise because they are not getting hundreds of of other companies reaching out to them. And as a result, we're very careful with our messaging, and we always lead with value and be a connector in the community. Our goal is like we said before, it's really about helping them in their journey. And however we can help them, we believe it makes a space bigger, which ultimately we win if our space grows.
Yeah, it's this idea of kind of meeting them where they are is what I've often heard, right? I get plenty of emails, as I'm sure everyone listening does, and you only have so much time. But if you've raised your hand effectively on LinkedIn or on Twitter or in a Slack community, you're by definition saying, I want a response, right? People don't post on LinkedIn unless they want people to like it, right? Or to comment on it. That's the whole idea. So it makes sense. I think it's interesting. One of the things that I read a lot about or like hear in the communities that I'm in, right, is that email open rates are down or SEO isn't converting the same way, which is what you're saying. Just anything you want to share in terms of what you've seen on that front. I think what the average email gets. I don't know, if you can get 30% open, you're good, right? And
Yeah.
whatever
I mean,
the
in B2B, email opens in our industry average would be like 19%. So 30% open rate in B2B SaaS email is phenomenal. Means you've got like really good targeting, you've segmented your audience, you're getting rid of, people that aren't opening. And so, yeah, 30% open in email is great. What we've seen in Slack is, 70, 80% open rates. It's insane. It's unlike anything you see in email. And not only that, we see reply rates that are 40, 50%, right? A reply rate on an email, you're in the single digits. And if that, I mean, 1% reply rate is considered good, right? So yeah, having the ability to connect directly to the community through a tool like Common Room has been pretty cool for us. It's really allowed us to do some really interesting things.
Yeah, it's great. As you think about now, like more of that engagement happening in these, I'll call it, non-traditional channels that they've been around for a bit, right? How is that? And I guess this goes back to the notion of like attribution. How is this kind of affected how you think about like qualification, right? There's MQLs. There's I've heard people talk about community qualified leads or community growth. Um, kind of anything there that you're adding in that's helpful for folks to understand?
Yeah, yeah, I love that because you look at marketing operations or marketing automation, and people typically have a tech stack that includes, some type of marketing automation platform, like HubSpot, for example, and then they have a CRM. So maybe their CRM is Salesforce, and it's kind of your typical tech stack. And the current model is all right. You integrate the two, you manage your sales out of Salesforce, you manage your marketing automation out of your automation tool like HubSpot, and you'll do your grading and scoring, you'll produce MQLs. But then you've got this thing over in the corner, this community, which is a bit of a black hole where really rich conversations are happening. People are interacting, they're talking about your services and products, and they are giving you intent signals that you're not really able to integrate into your marketing automation. So I am really excited about a future where within the community, we're able to identify intent at a real level and create qualification that then would kind of tie back to your primary marketing automation. So this idea of a community qualified lead to me is that's really exciting because that's actually going to be more powerful than somebody reading an ebook or clicking on an email or going to your website. You're going to know based on certain parameters that they're ready to buy, and that's exciting.
And also the context. I think you're kind of mentioning there too, right? Is that, and certainly the intent, but the context of it's one thing to download an ebook. It's another thing to say, here's what I loved about the ebook, or here's the problem I'm trying to solve that the ebook helped me with, right? Now think about the follow up you can send to them, right? Versus being thanks for downloading. You go from thanks for downloading our ebook about value management, value based selling to hey, would love to help you with this specific problem, right?
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
absolutely.
that's great stuff. Um, well, I really appreciate the conversation. I think, maybe just one last question here would be, we've talked about a couple big topics, attribution slash kind of tracking almost, right, of people, and then, community. Any advice that you want to share with your peers, with your community as we wrap up?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think a lot of marketers are really kind of holding on to what they can track effectively through Google Analytics or through attribution models. And I'm not saying that you should ignore those, but I would encourage you to experiment in some of the other areas that we've talked about, whether it's building a community or doing events or podcasts. These are areas where there's opportunity, I think, to improve the ability to provide value to your audience. And it's something that there are ways to track. And in many cases, you can add a field to your forms. You can do interviews or surveys where you get better information. And I think you'd be surprised at the results. And, we're seeing in a lot of SaaS companies. Chris Walker of Refine Labs does a lot of work in this area. Shout out to him, where he talks about the attribution mirage and just how a lot of the clients that he works with um, are seeing the real attribution through their interviews and through their forms are in different places than their attribution they're tracking. And so there's this divide right now, and I would encourage marketers to kind of go back to the roots of, all right, let's make sure we're focused on providing value versus asking for a demo or a trial. Let's see, what do our clients care about and how can we meet them there, whether it's in the community, LinkedIn, email, and have the right content put in front of them that they care about.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Chris. Really enjoyable and fun conversation. For those of you listening, hopefully you got a lot out of it. Obviously, I'm sure that Chris would love to connect with you in the various places that community happen. So LinkedIn or other marketing communities there. And if you'd like to hear other great go-to-market leaders like Chris on our next go-to-market sessions, please follow Common Room, and look forward to continuing the conversation with folks. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Jake. That was a lot of fun.